Okay. Last week we finished from this test, so we did these two tests. So I'll try to run it again. It's also already passed, but just to see that that is fine. All right. Cool. So now we finished from our step definition. So I think some people find it a bit challenging having to link everything together, but this is what I did, but just to make it easy for people. But there will be a better way to do this, to be honest. So for now, let's make do of this. So we have each method for our step definition steps. When I navigate to the site, so we just copy it. We navigate to the site. When I click on register button, we get our register link. So for instance, let's go to the site. So our register button, which is that one, we inspect that element, then we found that one. So if I go to the code and see what we used, so we use the text link text of register. So which is, we have a link, called register. So, and that's what we use. So, and I think we try to use different methods. The first one that we did was link text. So the same way you can also click login by saying link text. So today maybe we'll do the login, but we use a different method today. So let's go provide that I want to log into the screen. So 1 minute. Okay, let's do another. Now let's do another feature. We call it login. New item. Step definition. But we want to log in. So we remove these ones. So scenario login. So now let's remove those ones. Given I navigate. So now this is what happens because you already have some step already created for the given scenario. So if you, for instance, let me start from beginning. I will remove all this. If I say given and I space, so it's giving me lots of things that I can do, and I go to the site and I click on register button. So instead of writing it all over again, I can click the one that's applicable, so and it does everything for me. So and I just click on that because that's what I want to do, given I navigate to the site. So you can see it's going to be similar to what you've done before, given I navigate to the site. So and the same thing for the login is given I navigate to the site also. So given I navigate to the site, then what do you want to do when you get to the site? You click on login button. If you check the previous one that we did, so for registration feature, and I click on register button, so it's going to be the same step, but of course you are not clicking on register, you are clicking on the login. So and you can say and so if you do that, so that is going to go to the register login page, register button, but you don't want register, you want a login. So and that is changed. Then after you do that, so what's the next one? Because when you click on the login, what happens? It goes to the login page. Then you enter your username and also you enter your password. So, you enter your email and also you enter your password. So, and you click on secure sign-in. So, let's do that. Then, and okay. So the next one is when. So enter, you got all these ones, but you're looking for different ones. But so enter, we are not looking for first name, you're looking for email address, and I enter password. I click on, so this is sign up button, but we want sign in button. So as you can see, already we have two steps already created for us when I navigate to the site and when I enter password. We don't need to rewrite those ones. So we only need to write for the login button and also for the email address and for the sign in button. So then I am signed in. So we do the assertion to confirm that we really signed in. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So the first one, like I said, this has already been mapped. We don't need to do anything on that because it's black. The purple one is what we need to focus on because that has not got any step definition. So now what do we need to do? We create a new step definition. So we go into our step definition folder, right click, add, new item. So we want to have step definition. So what is it called? It's called login steps. Yes. Click on add. That creates that for you. So automatically you get that given when then with calculators. So remove everything. So this is what you should have, those two, right? So now the next one is for you to create your step definition for the login. The first thing you want to create this one, only this one. So what you need to do, right click on that one, and you can say go to step definition, but you know that there's no step definition for it. So it's going to ask you, it's going to tell you that there's no step definition. So say no matching step definition found for this step. Do you want to copy the step binding skeleton to the clipboard? Of course, yes, I want to do that. So you said yes, please copy. Then you go to where your step definition is, which is that one. Then you paste it there. So that does that for you. So if you go back to your feature files, so and you click on save, that purple for the click on login should change to black, which exactly it does. So the same thing you need to do for the enter email address. Right click also, say go to step definition. That brings that for you. You copy that also, and then you go to login step. So be careful. So this is a block. So when you want to put the next one or paste the next one, make sure it is after that block of code. So this is one block, and you want to paste another one. So that is another one. So if you want to post another one, it's going to be after that one. So on and on like that until so you and also look at the braces. This is for the this brace here. It's for the this is the end of that brace. The brace for the namespace is that one. So and for the class declaration, and that's for the class declaration, and this is for the method declaration, and that's the end. So you need to know that each one you have end and close, so you don't copy like for instance, you don't copy something inside this particular one because it's not. So you need to know where you are copying those things. So then the next one also we do the same thing. So let's save this one now. So that also changes to black. So now we have these two. So initially I was using this approach, so you could do that also, the same thing also. So I was using the go to step definition, which is also the same thing to go to definition. That's you can use that to copy your files across. So this is another approach I used last week, generate step definition. Let's quickly look into that. So click on generate step definition. So that is going to bring the step definition that's all the ones that are pending that you haven't got any step for. It's going to bring them for you, and it's going to say, okay, where do you want to put it? If you haven't created your step definition, then you can say generate. So that generates a class for you called login steps. But however, we've already got a login step, so we're not going to use generate, because if you generate, it's going to ask you that, oh, I've already got a login step, then it's going to replace it. So that's not what you really want. But what you want is that now I want to copy this method into clipboard because I know where to put them. So, and if you can decide to check or uncheck. If you only want this line, it's fine. But if you want everything, you check the one that you want to copy. So you say copy to clipboard. So you copy that, then you go to where you want them to be pasted. So it's going to be on our steps. So login step. So now I go to before my closing braces, and I paste those ones. So you can see that the two are pasted for the sign in, and also for the sign in button, and also the assertion, which is the then I can sign in or I am signed in. So those are that. So the next step is for you to just remove the pending step, because you don't need pending. You need to write your code to replace those pending steps. So okay, so then if you build your, let's build our solution. So if you build your solution and I've not clicked on it, so you should be able to see another test for the login page. So let's build it. So that's it. So you now have 3 tests altogether, one for the login page, two for registration. So this is Specflow evaluation, you don't need those ones. And also this is the unit one that I created before, it's not required in this one. So we only focus on these 3 tests. The login page has got this, so which is that one, then also the registration, which is the 2 tests I've run before. So now, so if we run this test, technically there's some part of it that does nothing. For instance, this navigate to the site, this click on the login page, which we've not actually implemented. So it's only that if I press on F, okay, let me right click, because I can also press on F12, but I decided to use this approach so that you can see what I'm actually doing. So, but you can press on F12 just to go to the definition. So now this is where I need to put my code for clicking on the login button. So let's run this and see what happens. So that opens the web page. So normally you should click on the login, but yeah, it couldn't click on the login. So since we are using Specflow, it's going to try 3 times. So, and it's going to fail anyway. Okay, cool. So now that test failed, which is expected because we haven't written the code for the login. So this what happens. It went to the login method, but nothing is there. That's fine. You go through. So also the next step after the login step, if you go, is to go to the email address, enter email address. Let's see what we have in there. Email address, nothing. So it's going to pass. So because there's nothing. So then also it's going to go to enter password. Enter password, we already have this already. So, but now the issue is that when you want to enter your password, but because it didn't actually click on the login page, so there will not be any place to enter the password. So that is going to fail. So if you want to know what passed, what failed, you click on the output. It's going to tell you what happened. So, for instance, it said, okay, it went to the site. That's done. The login button is clicked. Technically, it didn't do anything because we didn't put anything. So also enter password, that also is passed, but it was not able to enter. Enter email address, that was okay. So, but was not able to enter password because it couldn't find the elements. The problem was it was not even able to. There's nothing to. We did not even click on the login button. So it's going to be on the home page. So on the home page, there's no button to enter password, so it failed. So now we go now and we fix the code one after the other. The first thing we need to do is our login page, login button. Let's go to that. So we need to write. Sorry. Let's start. Click on the login button. So yeah, which is this one. Click on the login button. Now So we need to put the code to click on the login button. So we know that what we need to do is to get the element for the login. So we need to get the element for the login. Then after we get the element, we click on that element. So I will use a different approach today, which is called PageObject module. Last week we used a different approach, so which is we just use the find element and we get the element that we want, and we either click or send. So that's what we did. Well, this time around we are not going to do that. We're going to use the PageObject module. So let's go back here. So in PageObject module, you put all your elements in that particular PageObject, so that your code is neat and and also you don't need to put your element inside your code. So because for instance, if anything changes, you have to change it inside your code. So inside your step definition, you don't want to do that. You want to have a single source of truth for your elements. So what happens is then what you need to do now, you need to create a class called PageObject class. So that saves all the objects on that particular page. So what we need to do, we got a folder called PageObject. So you right click on that and you click on add and new. PageObject per se is just a class. So what you are talking about is create a class and create the class and call the class. Let's say because we are doing the login page, let's call the class login page. So login page.cs. So, and we can also create another object, because we know for us to go to the login page, we need to go to the home page first. So we're going to need two page objects. We need the page object for the login page that we're going to go to, or we also need the page object for the home page. So the first one we need to do is the home page for home page. So on the home page, what do we need to do? So on the home page, we need to click on the login button. We need to click on the login button. So, well, initially, like I told you before, we use the find elements but now we want to create our object first. So how do you do that? So there's a neater way, which is kind of favored right now. If you go to the interview, you say you use PageObject, kind of very, very good. So what you need to do is you open and close braces or the square braces. You put find by. How do you want to find what you are finding? You can say now there is finds by, but it's underlined. So I click on that. It's actually a class under support PageObject. Selenium support PageObject. So I need to add that to my using section. Okay, so that is added. Then now I got finds by. How am I finding it? I said, okay, let's go to inspect that element first and see how we can actually find it. So the first one, we inspect that. How can we find it? One, because it's a text. Also, it's a text because it's got that a tag, so we can find it by link text, or we can find it by expert. So we're going to do the same thing that we did 2 weeks ago. We're going to use different methods of finding. For this one, let's try to use link text. So go back to the code. So then the first parameter you want to send is how. How do you want to find it? How is equal to our dot. So this is all as in how you can actually find it. So you can, like I told you also last time, you can find it by class name, CSS selector, ID, link text, partial link text, name, tag, XPath. So now for us, we decided let's use link text. So then let's use link text. Then the next parameter you put comma. The next parameter is which link text are you using. So you put another clause using is equal to. So what type of text are you looking for? Login. So then what is the name of that particular object that you are creating? Private. I'm creating iWeb element. What is the name of that element? I can call it login button. So this also I need to add using. So just to tell you, what you've done is the same thing as saying driver.find for those people that are familiar with the driver.find element. So I just want to do it again. So what you've done is saying driver, okay, because it's just changing everything. Driver.find element by dot link text. Sorry, I can't type. Okay. So what you've just done is that. So that's just another way of writing that. So you're saying, okay, I want to find my element, find by how. My how is how.linkText. And what am I finding? I'm finding login, but I'm using linkText. That's the first thing that you want to find, and that is on the login page. So I just put this like a comment just to understand what we are doing. So that when you are watching the video, you don't write the same thing. It's not required. So just for an explanation for people that are so familiar with find elements. So because some people write Selenium is like checking your Selenium code. They couldn't find any find element, but that's what's going to happen right now. So you will not see any find element again. So because your find element is already wrapped in this particular page object. So that's what's finished on the home page. So we go again because we need to go to, we click on the login button on the home page, then we do the other one. So now let's go now after we want to click on the login, but we got the page object for the login button. Then we go to our step definition. So before we do that, so what's going to happen here is now we need to click on that object, right? We need to click on the object. So if you need to click on the object, we create a method, a public method. We can call the method click login, or let's say so waiting for it. Sorry. So we click on the capture letter. So now what we need to do now is we need to click on this login. So it's easy for us. We just write login button dot click. So coming here, for those ones that are used to find elements, so what you've now done here is this dot click. So this is what you've just done. Your object is called login button, and you've declared it at the top, and you've used your find by to get that object. So apologies for that. So now this is what you have. Your object is called login button. So, and your object can be found by link text, and the text that you're looking for is the login. So after this has been done, then the next one is you click on that object. So that's what you've done. So this is what you've done in your page object. So after you've done this now, you go to your step definition. You just call this particular method. So, and the class is home page. So let's go to our step definition, which is here. So I want to call home page. So, but it couldn't find it anyway. So we need to add the because it's in a different namespace. So then we add it to your using. So then dots. So now I think I discussed this also with people when we did the C# class, right? So now because the home page is not a static, so it's not a static class. So you need to initialize it. You need to initialize that particular class. So at the top here, you do this. Home page. Home page. Is equal to new home page. So now we get an instance of the home page into this particular class. So now since we have an instance of the home page, now we can call the method that is attributed to that home page. So here we want to call the login page, the login method. So we can say home page dot, no, sorry, the home page with small m. Yeah. So dot. So and then you click on login. So we have that. Then you bring that in. So that does that for you. So basically what you are seeing now is on the home page class, which we have in an instance of it. So, and if you go to that class, you will see a method called click on login button. So if you press control button and you put your mouse on it, you should be able to go there also. You press down on control button, and you put your mouse on that particular method. So you click on it. So it takes us to that particular method. So on this method, what's this method doing? We have a login page, login button. What's a login button? Login button is a web element which is found by link text using the login text. So that's what it's talking about. Then after that is found, then we click on it. So that's what we are trying to say, and that's what we are saying here. So go to the home page class and then execute click on login method, which does the clicking. So that is this one done. The next one is enter email address. So if you go back to your browser, so when you click on the login, then you are on this page. Now you need to enter email address, because this is another page itself, so we need a page object for it. So that's why we had two page objects that we created, one for the home page and one for the login page. So on the login page object, we open that. So we want to do the same thing. We want to do the same thing, which is like creating a page object for email address. So now we start with the same approach. Find back. So then open and close brackets. So how do you want to find it? How, which is equal to how dot. So now how do you want to find it? So we go back to the browser and we inspect that particular element. But however, I can add this one because this is not already added to the, because there's a library that I need to add to it. So C# class, so yeah, it's on support page object. So add to my using clause. So that's that done. But now I need to know how am I going to find that particular element. So which is that one. So I inspect that element. So and this is the element. So then I'll check which attribute that element has got. Is an input, and it's got the type, and it's got the type, it's got the class name, it's got the name, it's got the ID. So those are the attributes it's got. So now let's go back to our code and see how we can actually find the element. So class name, yes, I think it's got class name, so we can use class name. Yeah, also ID, it's got an ID. Yes, we can use ID. Name is got a name, we can also use the name. So you can use anyone. Also, you can use CSS selector. To use CSS selector, you just need to right click and say copy. So then you copy selector. So that's how to get it. Also XPath, you copy the XPath. So as you can see, class name, you can use the class, you can use the name, you can use the ID. So this particular text has got input text area has got that. So we can select anyone that we want. Like I said, normally I favor the ID, but some people could argue that this CSS selector, because sometimes the CSS selector will use the ID anyway. So I've copied the CSS selector and let's see what that brings for us. So I'm going to just put that. So that's the CSS selector, this one. So which is similar to what the ID is anyway. So if you have an ID technically and you want to convert it into CSS selector, you just need to put the hash sign. But just to be sure, if you are newcomer into, just right click to get CSS selector, right click and copy CSS selector. So if I do that, and let me just paste it on here, just for you to see. And that's what you have. So the same way also XPath, you can also do the same thing, copy your S path. So if I paste it here, so that's the S path. So which also is using the ID. So okay, so let's go and use anyone that we feel like using. So just for training purpose. So I can say dot. Let's use name. So we use name and comma using is equal to. So what's the name? So the name is email. So like we did before, we found our element, but which element are we talking about? So you need to give it a name, private I web element. So and it's our email. So also the next one after the email is the password. So let's inspect that also. So we almost the same thing also in terms of attributes. So we can use the class name, we can use the name, we can use the ID. So this time around, let's go for the class. So, and this is the class. So we go with the class. Find by. Now, because we've already added the support page object, if you type finds by, that is bringing what you need to type, you need to enter. So it's going to finds by, bring it out for you. So then how do you want to find it? How, my how is equal to how dot, we said we use the class name. So okay, what is the class name? Using is equal to our class name, which I've copied, that is that. Then private I web element, so which is password. Okay, now that's our element already done. So the next one now is for us to create that method that will do the operation for our page objects. The first thing we want to do, we want to type into the email. So public void, so enter email address. So now we want to enter email address using our email dot send keys. So what sending email address? test@.com. So that sends our button there. So you could be smart and also do something like this: email dot clear. What this one is going to do for you is like, peradventure, your email is already been typed, or there's something typed already, because in some cases when you want to log in, you see that it's already cached your email address. So you want to clear that button first, so that after you clear it, then you can type your email address. So that what that would do. So the next one is password. Public void enter password. So then that is, we do the same thing. Password, you can say .clear, then password .send keys, send keys. What are we sending? What's my password? I think this. Secure password. So that is that done. So we got our page objects done for this enter email address and enter password. So the next thing, we go to our step definition. We go to our step definition for the login page. So enter email address. We want to call our what's it called? Login page. We want to call our login page. So we put login page. It's equals to new. So we instantiate our login page. So then we can call the login page from here. Login page, that's a small one. Dot. So what do you want to do? Email address. Enter email address. So the same way also. Okay, this is the thing. Now the password, we don't have the password there because we already created the password last time. So we can as well change that one to page object module, just to be sure. Yeah. So let's go to where the, I think is on registration step. Yeah, this one. That is the password. So which we use CSS selector. So this is thing also, it's possible this password is different from the password that you have before. So let's check that quickly. On the register button, so let's see, register button, you have password. What is CSS selector? So, and that is that. So if you copy the CSS selector for this one, so yeah, so the same way if you go to the login page and see if they use the same ID. So yeah, they use the same ID, so they use the same class. So technically, you can use the same step definition for that. So that should be fine. So that should be fine. So we can either leave this as it is, or let's try to change it to page object module. So if you want to do that, so we need to instantiate our home page. Oh no, login. So then bring that one in. So now from the password, we can now use the page object module for this login page dot. So we want to enter password. This is just to show you how we can, because this is what we're written in the find element and everything, but now we're using this page object module to replace that one. So depending on which one you favor, but I would recommend you know how to do the page object module, which is this one. So that is that done. So one thing that you also need to do, which is also important, part is telling me this is being deprecated, but I will show you anyway. So everything is done for your page object, but you need to initialize your elements for that particular page. So if you go to your step definition for the login step, so now you need to initialize your init element public. So you need to write the same name as this, which is called a constructor. Any class or any method that's got the same name as a class name is called a constructor. So you create a constructor for your step definition. So it's got only public and then the name of the method, which is the same thing as the name of the class. Then now you need to initialize your page factory. Page factory dot, that needs to be added also, dot init elements. So what are we? So here you need two elements, where one is your driver and one is your page object. One is a driver, one is a page object. So we know our driver is in the hook dot driver. So our driver is in the hook dot driver, and then comma, then you need your page object, which is, let's start with the home first. Sorry. No, sorry, it's initialized one. So you do the same thing. So you can, I think that's what it's talking about. It's been deprecated. So, but that's we'll talk about next week. So you do the same thing for the you do the same thing for the login page. So those are the three that you need to do initialize. So basically that's it. So what I've just done is we created a new login feature file, and we've linked our feature files with our step definition, so which is on login steps, so which is all these ones. But instead of using our find element the conventional way or traditional way that we were used to before, so we use the page object module. So what we did was to create our page object module. We create the home page. So in the home page we have finds by. How are we finding our elements? With the first one, the login button, we find it by link text, and the name of the text is login, and we call that element login button. And so then we create another method to click on that particular button, which is our element. So that is the method. Then also we now call this particular method in our step definition, so to click on the login. So, and I'll go back to that again. So I just put this just for us to know what that is. So that is not required, so I'm removing that right now. So the same way also we did for the login page object. So we created email, we created password, then also we cleared the password, we sent keys into the password, we did that. So that is that. So the last one that we need to do is the secure one. So let's quickly do that. So we'll go. I think my time is up, but quickly we'll do that. So submit button. So then we see it's got the class name. It's got fortunately it's got only the class name. There's no ID. So if you want to use anyone, you need to use the class name, which is that one. Or let's go with the XPath this time around. So just to see how XPath works. So you copy XPath and let's paste that here and see what we see. Okay, that's the XPath for that particular button. So let's go to our step definition. Private owl is equal to owl dot. So as we said, let's use the XPath. Oh, sorry, I think I'm writing out of points. So someone is actually distracting me. Yeah, so finds by. So it's good not to be distracted at work, to be honest. So you can see, what am I doing? Yeah. Okay, sorry guys. So finds by how are we finding it? We're finding it how dot XPath. What are we finding using is equal to open and close brackets. Now be careful. I need to tell you this. Why? Because this is what I am copying. This is what I've copied. If I paste that, can you see that? It's got some open and close quote. It's got open, close, and close quote. But I'm now putting them inside another quote for a string. But in C#, this is what is going to interpret it. It's going to interpret it as beginning of the string and end of the string. Beginning of another string and the end of another string. So it's going to think these are not part of the string, which they are. So for you to do that, you need to put an escape key, which is the backslash. You need to put an escape key. So that takes this one as a quote and also takes this as a quote. So basically you have quote inside another quote. So you need to consider that when you are pasting XPath. So now if I do that now, let's see, I'll paste what I've just copied. Can you see that? So it's taking this as one string and it's taking that as another string. So and then it's taking that one as another string. So because of that, it's taking this as normal, maybe variable, and it's even spacing the dash for me. So I won't do that. So what I'm going to do is, it's better you do that in a notepad, or let's say notepad. If you're not used to that, you just put that in the notepad, then put escape that and escape that one before you copy that across. So then if I copy that across, so you copy that across, so then you is a private iWeb element. So what you want to call it is sign in button. So okay, this is the thing now. You need to look at that one. This, you might find some of those things. There's error here, so it's highlighting this, but technically it's not. That's not where the error is. I've opened that and I did not close it at the end. So you need to. You see most of this one when you start doing your own like that. So that is that. So that is fixed. So the next one now is for me to click on the sign in button. So public void click on sign in button. So what am I? This is my sign in button. So I sign in button dot click. So as we've done, you can see this. That's why I said if you know the process, and you might not, you just need to know the process, how everything fitting together, then you should be fine, right? The next step we've done before now is to go back to our step definition, call our this particular sign in button from there, and so we go back to the login page. Then what do you want to do? Yeah, so login page dot click on sign in button. That is done for us. So next time we start from here. So we assert if we assign it or not. So we run the code and we do that. So that is that for now. So let's try to run it, and then you build. And is built, then let's run it. Last time also I discussed about debugging. So let's see if it's okay. That's good. So it fails. So we try to debug it. You put a breakpoint where the problem is. So then we see what exactly the problem is. So technically, I think it's not even. Yeah. Okay. You click on the login. You click on So which is good. So you click on the login. You click on the what's it called? I think he entered something into the email address, but the password is the issue, which I think is going to fail anyway because we did not declare the page object, and also we did not do the page factory for the password. So okay, so now it failed. Let's try to debug and see what the problem is. So one, in English, what exactly was the problem? We got that done. That is done, that is done, and that is not, because he couldn't find the instance of an object. Okay, so that's in English. If that, then what you need to do, two ways. You can go into your and click here and F12 into that. So the problem is from here, right? The problem is like the login page here. This is not instantiated at the top as we did for the other ones here, for the login step. So we didn't do something like this also. So that's what is required over there. So it did not instantiate it in there. So if you do that, but however, before I do that, another way to find what the problem is, let me move away from here, is to look here. It's saying that message object reference not set to an instance of an object. So to be honest, for you may not mean anything, but it was saying that I can't find this object in that instance. So technically, so it's going to be like you are not able to instantiate an element or an object. So where exactly is the problem? If you look in there, you see some black, some blue. So the blue ones is what you are particular about. Those are your steps that is run. So, and if you click on the first blue one, that takes you to your feature file. So from your feature file, it takes to the next step that will actually contribute to where the problem is, which is when I enter my password. That is that one. So the next step is when it failed completely is here. It couldn't actually clear, it couldn't actually do that. So, and that's where the problem is. So because this particular password was not instantiated from the screen, from that class. So what we need to do is go to the home page. No, home test. So yeah, so that is not instantiated, and there's no init elements for the page object. So what we need to do, we do the same thing. We create a constructor, public registration steps. So just to say, it's going to be the same thing as what we did before. It's going to be this one. So yeah, so that is the part that's missing. So next week we talk about how to resolve this particular issue, but as it is right now, let's make do of that. So I'll try to run it again. Oh, I think I should have run it again with the issue, so that then I'll put the breakpoints so you can know how to debug it. But let's see if it fails, then I'll put the breakpoint, then we debug it together. Okay, that passed anyway. But the issue was here. So I'll put the breakpoint, then we just pretend that it's going to fail. So, but of course it won't. Where's the password? Enter password. So I'll put a breakpoint here at the top. So you just need to click where your code is you want it to stop. So then instead of saying run selected test, I'll run debug selected test. So it's going to run it, and it's going to stop where you have breakpoints along your journey. So what does that means is, like, for instance, there's a breakpoint here, but this particular test is not going to enter first name. So it's not going to break here. It's going to break through on the journey that is passing. So we go through debug selected test. So yeah, there's a breakpoint already here before. So I can say continue, or I want to see the each step. So if you want to step into each of the steps, you go and you can press that button, or you can see it's F11, or you can press, if you want to step over, you press F10. So let's step into each step. So that is executed. So what that does for you, sometimes it's good to just use that, go through each. So for instance, this is our before scenario. Before scenario, as we said before, is for any of your scenario to run, your before scenario has to run. So we've not even started the testing, so it just went to do the before scenario, and that what that does for you was open your Chrome browser, which is this one. That is done. So, and you can see the yellow line is the step that is executing. So it goes to the next one. So you can click on that again. So it goes to your feature file. Then that's now, you can see it's now starting executing your feature file. The first one was before your scenario. So then on navigate. So it goes to that. Then you can see this is because you have your constructor. Your constructor is executed first before any method in that particular class. So now it's going to instantiate the login page using the page factory. So that is done. Then the next step, our navigate. So it's going to navigate to the gift rich page. That is done. Then okay. So while doing this, you can follow the journey. If you are debugging, then go into the click on the login page. So you went to the login step, and also do the instantiate the login home page and the login page. Then also our constructor, init elements, yeah, initialize our page factory. Then now clicking on the login button, it does that. So for instance, now it goes into this particular page object again, because so then click, and it clicks on that. But now I don't want to go through this step again to bore you about each of the steps, but I'm particular about that particular step, which is the what's it called, the password that's failing. So I don't want to say next again. So what I'm going to do, I'll just say continue. If I click on continue, the next step is going to stop, is where I've got my breakpoints. So I click on the continue now. So you can see it stopped on my password, enter password. If you go back to your browser, you will see it's already entered the email address, so expecting your password. So then you can now, from here, you can click on next. So which goes to your page object. Your page object clears your password, then send my secure password. So, oh, cool. That is impressive. So as you can see, it even entered it inside the email address, not even on the password. So from then, we know that something is wrong. So we got that mixed up. So what exactly is the problem? You can see it's very good to see. So our password, what is in our password? Our password is le input. So class name, le input. Let's see what's there. So password, is that. Okay, cool. And also email. Yeah, brilliant. So you can see this one, that's where I don't favor people using classes. It is just an example, which is good that we used it. The email address and the password, they've got the same class name. So now it's confused of which one is selected the first one they found. So they are using the same class name. That's why you shouldn't use the class name, because it's not normally unique. It's not unique. So what I need to do now is to change it, to be honest, even for this test that I've used, which is a good thing that I actually used it, so that we can see why and what you need to do. So in that regard, will not actually use ID. So let me use, yeah. So Stella is telling us that ID is unique. Yeah. So ID should be unique. I would say, should be unique, but it might not be unique in some cases. So we also need to be careful about that. So that's why some people will favor using CSS selector, because that goes into your DOM and select the right approach for you using maybe its ID. But ID should be unique, I would say. So I sometimes I favor that approach of using ID. So let's try to use ID in our for the password. So this has to finish. We have to finish this. So let's continue. That is finished. But now, instead of using class name, we change that to dot ID. Then what is the ID? We get the ID out. So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to do the career one. So Pat is going to do that. So I will finish this in 2 minutes. So ID. So okay. So that is that. So I think you can see the issue with the advantage of page object also. When I want to change my ID to a different thing, I don't have to go into my code. I just went to my page object. So even if the developer changed this to a different thing tomorrow, so I just need to go in there because all my object is saved here. So I don't need to go into different places where I've used this password or email, because everything is saved in my page object, and also I can reuse it anywhere I want to use it. So when the object changes, I just need to come here and change it from there. So which is a good approach rather than saying find element by. So because if that particular element changes or what you're using to use changes, you have to change it everywhere you've got that particular element. But using the page object, it's a good approach. So let's try to run it again. So and see. I'll debug again. So that we can see it entered the right password. So yeah, it stopped the same way but I don't want to go bore you with those ones. So I say continue. Okay, now it's at entering the password. So about to enter. So I click on the next so to see that the password is entered. Next, clear, then enter my secure password. So yeah, cool, that's fine. So then click on so you should be able to click on that button. Okay, it's not yet. So okay, click. Okay, cool. So now that is done. So you click on that. So the next one is to confirm that you are able to log in. So you can do that by confirming that you did not get this message. That is one, because if you're not logged in, you get this message. So next week we discuss how to assert that I'm logged in. One way is to say I don't get an error. You confirm that this message is not displayed, or you go and confirm that that particular user is signed in by confirming the name is at the top or right hand. So yeah. So thanks for that. I'll pass you to Pat. So if you have any questions, let's quickly answer them. So otherwise we'll we'll move into the professional career advice on that's going to be anchored by Pat. Any question before I pass on to Pat? Okay, cool. Thanks everyone. So I'll stop the recording for this one, then start another recording for Pat's session. Thanks.